Yo guys, what's up? It's your girl Dev, and today we're going to talk about restructuring your kingdom and how important it is to make sure you have a strong, active, warfighting kingdom, especially when it comes to KVK. Now, in this video, we're going to cover the different tactics that 1874 used when restructuring our kingdom after we had some changes. Now, if you guys know and watch my content, you'll realize that we did have some changes over the past KVK. We just came out of KVK Season 2 and we're preparing for KVK Season 3. Now, with that being said, we're under a lot of restructuring in our kingdom because of some alliances that were not given back to us after those leadership migrated. So in this video, we're going to cover the different tactics that my kingdom used to restructure for KVK Season 3 and hopefully potentially helping us for future KVKs, especially in Heroic Anthem. And I know this happens a lot in younger kingdoms and in older kingdoms when people leave. So in this video, we're going to cover the different tactics that we used. And I hope you enjoy them because it's something that it's really come near and dear to me, because having a strong active kingdom will really help you in KVK. So don't forget to like and subscribe and sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this off. Now, let's set the scenario for you guys, and that'll help answer a lot of questions, especially anything in the future that you may run into. Let's just say that you lost access to two top alliances, or any two alliances that have major impact to your kingdom, and you can't get access to them. Whether they kicked people, they made it a farmer, they didn't dismantle it, because dismantling an alliance can only happen after the kingdom is about 300 days old, or like the alliance has to be like 280 or 300 days old. I'll have to get the exact number, but it's a little ridiculous, and they'll give it to normally like a farm account or like a 4K account or something like that. Either way, you can't get access to it, either entry to delete flags or even to just take it over to use it. In some cases, they can be repurposed, but in most, no, they're just non-existent. Now, what are some of the conditions that would cause this to happen? Either a mass migration of people who left your kingdom. You also can have a chance where there's passing leaders, right? So the leadership left and they didn't want to turn over the alliances, and they just said, well, you're on your own. And also, this may happen if you're moving into a dead kingdom. So let's just say like you're moving into a kingdom in the early 1000 series, right? And it's completely dead, but it might be structured fine. So you might have to do too much territorial. Then you'll probably have to just do rules and kingdom overview, which is the next part. All right, so the first thing, okay, what do you need to do? Well, let's do a kingdom overview. You, as either a leader or somebody in the leadership, maybe even a king, this is what you need to do and go through. First, look at the structures, the alliances, the members, and the activity. So looking at the structures, we're going to look at it from the alliance perspective and look at the different holy sites that are available. I just went to Google and I researched home kingdom maps, and I came up with this cool graph here. And this graph kind of tells me the different holy sites, where they are and where they're located. And I just used a simple 3D paint, and I was able to like add boxes and stuff and create different textures and alliances and where people need to go and build to, and that helped us repurpose the alliance. But essentially, the first thing to do is determine which alliances had to go where. Now, as we go through this, we're going to go look at the different alliances and see who owns what and what they need, right? In my kingdom, we have three main alliances. We have Parabellum, we have Bella, and Rage. And these three main alliances are going to be used in KVK Season 3. Well, we had to make sure that they had the greatest structures available. So we used Bella, which is in the red, to make sure that they had all of the holy sites on the right side of the map. And we have Parabellum on the bottom, taking the holy sites on the bottom side of the map. And then in the top left-hand corner, we're going to have Rage. Now, Rage is probably going to need the most building. And I had to see this from an outside perspective on like a farm account, just so I can just see how their territory looked compared to ours. And it worked out pretty well, and I was able to better understand really the map type and the different types of structures that are available. Now, the next thing that I did was I reviewed the farm alliances. There's so many academies, and there's so many like little baby alliances across the kingdom you have to look at. So I looked at all of those: who is free to join, who is active, who is not active, what kind of territory do they have. Like this alliance up here, kind of on their own, and they do have a resource pit, so that means that an R5 or R4 is active to put that pit. And you'll see them scattered across the map. And that's a good thing. That means that you're showing activity and growth in your kingdom in the smaller alliances. And this is the time that you would reach out as a king or as a leadership division, or you may be able to appoint somebody to reach out to these small alliances to kind of get a feel for them. Like, who are they? Are they willing to work with us? Do they have people that want to join? You can kind of express talks with them. Well, you can also use that as a way of like taking their territory or moving them up in territory. It's really up to you, okay? But just get a full overview of your alliances, list them out, see who's active, see who's not active, and really create a game plan, because that's really what you need to do. Now, the good way to gauge activity is actually through events like Clarion Call, the fort event, where you can, it's like the fort push, where you can rally a ton of forts for more points. Those are really good indications of how active alliances are. Now, my alliance in Parabellum, we're doing something a little bit differently. I'm not pushing heavy in Clarion Call, but we're actually doing forts, and you actually get more benefit from doing forts than just killing barbarians. It helps the alliance more. But when you look at Clarion Call, you can see the different alliances that are currently active, including the farm alliances and the small little academies scattered across the map. So you can see that there's activity in them, and it's pretty widespread. So there's a lot of activity in the smaller alliances, which is good. And then you've got major activity in the top alliances, which is what you are looking for. Now, that's all good to hear, right? Now we all get the points of how to track that. You can also track them through MGEs, like power pushing, or like just standard farming. It's a good way to gauge like activity. The other place is actually in Sunset Canyon. So if you start with like a small account and you do Sunset, you can actually see the more active players that participate in Sunset. So you can kind of see where you land. But there again, key points to look for when you're looking at alliances, activity, members, and, well, basic kingdom overview structure is, are the alliances active? How good is their tech? Their resource income? Do they have territory, holy sites? Do they have officers that are active and willing to build flags and do different officer type tasks that you assign them? And is the alliance open or closed? Also, key point, do they have access to passes? So that's really kind of, in a nutshell, kingdom overview. Now, there's a lot probably I missed, but this is the kind of things that I looked at when I was building, trying to help restructure our kingdom and rebuilding it for season 3 and as we go forward to Heroic Anthem. So the second thing you should be working on after you kind of get a good kingdom overview is actually setting up your leadership team. Really determining a good, strong leadership team will really help you in the end game. Because when it comes to fighting in KVK, Heroic Anthem, or however you want to fight, it really comes down to your leadership and how you build your kingdom. Are you doing as one person's king and they have a council? Are you doing it where you have a rotation of kings? Or do you just have one alliance and that's it, and they control literally everything? Well, there's different ways you can really structure your kingdom, and it really depends really on the alliance and the kingdom's, like really the kingdom structure, because there may be a lot of current kingdom leadership or maybe even current members that see the kingdom differently, and it's going to take a lot to change them. So you just kind of have to work with them if you want it to work. Like, everyone will do it differently. There's no right or wrong way, but we are human and we are people. So I don't know how you want to do it, but everyone does it differently and has their own strategies. In my opinion, the best way to do it is just be nice, right? I mean, you can't always be mean to people because then they don't want to listen and they just want to go away. But it won't work for all. Some people need really good, strong core structure in order for things to work. But if you lack that structure, you're going to struggle in a lot of different ways. So you kind of have to look at things a little bit differently. But when it comes to setting up leadership, what you're going to do is you're going to take your alliance and you're going to look at the different members that you currently have in your alliance. And that may be looking at activity, people talking in chat, how active they are, how intelligent they are about the game, and honestly, if they have the time to put the effort into helping you rebuild your leadership. I mean, you can even use the current leadership if you're taking over the alliance, or if, in my situation, as we saw here, where we have 2 inactive alliances that were very active and they lost a lot of membership, and we had to take those 2 alliances and merge them together with the 3 alliances that we had. But that means that we'd have to move around the membership, because the membership that are in the other alliances, you know, they feel like they've earned their spot and they shouldn't be removed. And there's a lot of a gray area and stuff when you're building that, but you can reuse the leadership that stayed behind and put them in your other alliances, or you can build like a whole new leadership team. It really depends on you as a king or in leadership or council, how you want to do it and how it works for your kingdom. No 2 kingdoms are alike, so really keep that in mind. There's a lot of kingdoms that do things differently. Some things work, some things don't work, and you can kind of take what you learn from other kingdoms and experiences and stuff, but it's not all going to be the same. Everyone's going to have different opinions and see things a lot differently. So just keep that in mind whenever you're rebuilding your kingdom. But yeah, so that's kind of where that goes to in at least picking your leadership. Now, you need to make sure you have people who can be in charge of territory. You have events, diplomacy, so anyone that's good talking with other kingdoms, other languages are good, and a war council or war team. Essentially, those key things are going to help you in KVK. Now, having one person do all those tasks is a lot. So you could have one person, 1 or 2 people doing one task and 2 people doing another, and you have one person doing 2 tasks, but they're always going to do one less effective if they are doing multiple tasks. So keep that in mind, because you've got a lot of activity and stuff, and maybe you have someone who's really good at one task and not so good at others, or good at a whole bunch of different things. That's probably not good to have them in multiple different things, because now they're being stretched too thin and they're being overworked, and then they don't want to play because all they're doing is just basic whatever leadership role you gave them, either diplomacy or working on events or territory or building war plans and structures. Either way, there's a lot of it to go around, and you should try to share that with the rest of your leadership team and try not to take it all at one time, because it is a lot. Creating a Discord, creating group chats, a family chat, anything like that will really help you guys overall when you're restructuring your kingdom. And now the last topic. Really, this kind of plays into part to all the other parts, but you need to have the other ones in order for this last part to work. And that's rules, MGE or Mighty Governor event, and migration. These last 3 things will really, really kind of finalize your kingdom structure and your restructuring plan. Kingdom rules, farm killing, no city hits, basic rules like that, because that's really going to help you set the tone on how your MGE and your migration will go. But having solid rules like no farming gold in other territory, no free farming, such and such rules like that are basic rules in a kingdom. Now, this doesn't apply to like season 1 kingdom, it's more like 2, 3, and 4 and further on the line. And the second part is MGE, right? So Mighty Governor. And a lot of Mighty Governors in older kingdoms, they have structured Mighty Governors where you earn a spot and you compete for that spot and you get to that spot and that's it. It's not really much of a competition. It's already predetermined, or quote unquote fixed MGEs. Now, a lot of kingdoms in the younger side, they don't do as many fixed MGEs because, well, they want their players to use their speed ups and fight for those spots, but that might hurt the kingdom in the long run because now you're losing the speed ups and resources that you could be using for KVK. But like I said, every kingdom does it differently. In my opinion, what I would try to reinforce is not doing a fixed MGE, because I feel like that's too much micromanagement for the leadership side. But it does help if you're doing Osiris League or if you're focusing on KVK rally leads. And it keeps people from getting those other gold heads that may be good for somebody else. And the other way you can look at it is let the T5 talk, right? So create a T5 chat, especially your heavy spenders, and then you've got like a low spender tier. Get those heavy spenders in a conversation and have them talk, because they're the ones going to be putting forth the effort to put the speed ups on the field, right? So get them to talk to get those spots, and then you can have other people move up and take the spots, but just find a way that works best for your kingdom. Not every suggestion will work. You can try one way, and if it doesn't work, you can try other ways, but always stick to your guns. If someone breaks the rules, make sure you set clear guidelines for Mighty Governor that if they break the rules, they get consequences, and then you have to follow it no matter who the person is. So that gives you no special treatment. Those are things to keep in mind, because people want transparency and they want a good, decisive leader that's going to make decisions and be clear and cut on what they do. And the last thing, part of this last segment, is migration, right? So now you have your rules, you have your leadership set up, you've got your territory and your kingdom layout and what your clear picture of what it will look like. Now let's bring in new migrants. And migration is really important to keeping a kingdom active. Now the question is, what kind of player base do you want? Well, in my kingdom in 1874, what we're doing is we have stat trackers. We have 1 or 2 people that gather the entire bracket, and we do this every couple of weeks. We gather the entire bracket in numbers and we stack them, and we find out where we think we are according to those numbers when it comes to KVK matchmaking and where we want to be. So that way it gives us an opportunity to either immigrate a lot of power or to not really immigrate a whole lot of people and be selective. Now, a lot of older accounts are moving to younger kingdoms, so good account evaluation is important. For example, looking at their kills. How many kills do they have? Are they active kills? Are they the kills match up to the actual kill counter, or are they different? Looking at their power, that's important. Also, when you go into more info tab, you can ask them to take a screenshot of this because it's really important. It has a lot of really good information, like their overall tech power or their troop power, which is really good to have, commander power. And then you have like their highest power number, which is 61 for me. And then I'm going to hide my camera real quick so you can see the rest of it. But then you've got deads, scout times, resources gathered, alliance help times, and resource assistance. All of this information is very, very important whenever you're looking at migrants, because when you're looking at someone who's trying to come into your kingdom, looking at their resources gathered is important, but their help time is good too. Their deads also show that they are not willing to just sit back and watch fights and happen, that they're willing to go out into the field and fight. Their power difference is really important as well too, because it shows you if they have a high amount of deads and their power is quite similar to where they are now, if they're not in a KVK or they just left one, that's a good indication on how quickly they can replenish their troops after taking significant amount of losses. Okay, so all of that, that's a lot of information, right? So much. But really the key feature you should take from this is stats. Look at their stats, but not all stats are going to be the same. We had a player in our kingdom that had like 1 million kills, right? And he was a T5 player. We immigrated him in our kingdom. And the reason why he had only 1 million kills is because they had like no fighting in KVK2, like at all. So we brought him in, we immigrated him in, and he ended up being one of our highest kills for our alliance, which is pretty insane. So he went from 1 million to like 15 or 16 million kills in a KVK, which shows us that we were right, that, you know, that this person had low kills, but they were willing to fight for the kingdom and put a ton of effort in. And that's really good. But sometimes it's hard to find. And you guys have to be picky. The other things you should look at is their overall commanders. So let's come down here and look at mine. You want to look at their commanders, right? So having really good, strong commanders that have good skills, that maybe expertise, maybe not expertise. How do their gear look? What kind of gear do they have? Are they garrison? Are they cabs? And also some key features. Will they push in Mighty Governor events? Like, for example, I don't really have that many sculptures for Leo. So will I push in the Leo? I'm not sure. But like stuff like that, right? You need to know where they stand as a player when it comes to their commanders and what they're looking for. More things to take into migration. And, of course, VIP level. But for me, I don't really look at the VIP level too much. I look at the consecutive days login. Now, if you skip 1 to 2 days, it won't change it much. But if you take a long extended break, it will reset that counter. Or if you take a break for a couple of days, it won't increase to the next number. So it's kind of interesting to see that really progress and change. So having someone screenshot that will tell you if they took a break or not, which does happen quite a lot for a lot of players. I guess you could go really nitty gritty and be like, show me your speed ups, show me your resources, or like for heavy T5 spenders, you need to do a background check. Why? What happens if you bring in another player like what we did named Maximum Thunder? Now, we brought this player in. He was like 110, I think. Or no, he was 120 million power, I think. And we brought him in. And he was a little weird, right? Not like your average player. But at one point, he just started like leaving alliances, attacking farmers, cities, and it was just a really bad migration, in my opinion, and we did no discussion with him. We just immigrated him in. Dumb decision, and you learn those from the mistakes, but don't make those mistakes. Do background checks on all heavy spenders. That way, you get a better feel of where they came from. Now, in some cases, they may have acted out because they didn't like that kingdom, and you may get lucky, and they end up being pretty good. I had that in 13-15 where we immigrated a player that went rogue in his kingdom right before he left. He immigrated in and he worked just fine, and I think they're still in KVK in Heroic Anthem. But not every situation is going to be like that, and you're gonna have to take a risk. But advertising your kingdom in all the Discord channels, you can check in my description for my Discord channel, and you can also go to the other ones like Chiskulls and Geckos and Dragothian. 12-inch has one, and Sinchi has one, and a bunch of the other content creators in the RoK Discord, of course. They all have forums you can go into and post your migration, or go into the wanted, like, hey, I'm looking for a kingdom, and then advertise or look for people there. There's so many options if you're trying to rebuild your kingdom at all, period, in any way, shape, or form. There's so many different ways you can do it. And no two kingdoms are alike. Please keep that in mind. Don't try to do exactly what somebody else did, or maybe take your experience from one kingdom to another. That may not work. It may work for you, may not. Okay guys, that's going to wrap it up with this video. I hope you guys learned a lot about maybe restructuring your kingdom and how it's going to work and be beneficial to you, because no two kingdoms are alike, so a lot of this information may not work for you. But it worked for us, and there's a lot that you could do, and try to take everything in stride. Don't try to do everything at once, but instead assign a team and a group of people that will work for you and help you out, because that's really what it's all about. In Rise of Kingdoms, it's all about together and working with others, because if you don't work with others, you're pretty alone in the corner. So, but having a group in the corner, you have something to talk about and chat about. So but either way, we talked about a couple different topics. So we talked about, the reasons why restructuring happens. We talked about the kingdom and your overview of what it looks like, and kind of developing a plan to what will help you restructure your kingdom faster. Setting up a solid leadership team, including other roles, and go with that. And finally, the last topic that we talked about was your roles, your migration, and MGE. Kind of how you lay down the groundwork for what your kingdom is going to be preparing for, or how you think your kingdom should be built and structured. And a lot of this goes into play when you have a strong team, and having a good team is important. And you surround yourself with a good team, then you're going to be very successful. And listening to others' opinions does actually help, especially listening to the other people in the alliances and kind of getting a good feel of the community you just joined or recreating. But again, I hope this video helps you guys, and it kind of made me reevaluate things in my current kingdom and ways forward. Like, for example, creating accounts, getting them leveled up, and joining other alliances to take over those alliances to potentially disband them, remove flags, or just have an extra alliance to drop forts within KVK. A lot of those things are going to play a part in how you rebuild your kingdom. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any suggestions to anyone trying to rebuild a kingdom, drop it in the comments below. I do respond to pretty much every comment. I do my best because I like to see the different feedback you guys have in the community to help us content creators and other kings and kingdoms out there rebuilding their kingdoms. But again, that's it for me, guys. So don't forget to drop a like on this video, subscribe to my channel to see content like this, and ring the bell for the notifications so that you can see when I go live or when this content drops. And of course, always find me on social media, either in Discord or in Twitter. I'm pretty active in both locations, so hit me up anytime. I'm always available. Well, not always, most of the time. And I will get back to you. I do respond to my DMs as much as possible. But that's it for me, guys. So for now, just keep it real.